I hope I'm ready. Damn it, she wouldn't even give me a chance to answer. She does this every single time.
Because I will say, are you ready?
Because she is in a hurry to go nowhere.
No. Salty's on. This new time. Why don't they leave the daylight alone?
I have mentioned to you many times
daylight savings time thing messes everybody up for a while.
I'm pretty sure I have mentioned to you before, like, the days that Salty comes on, why don't we just schedule those days to be like our free days, like our rest days?
Oh, I mean rest days.
Days off of not recording.
Well, you don't have to. He's wanting to bail on me as my gunner. He is. And I need to have somebody on standby. And
I just can't do it every single night. It's not that I don't want to. It's just that I do not have the physical energy for it.
If somebody would like to apply as a fill-in, send me an email.
Yeah.
We could do something by phone or something like that. We really could.
Joe.
Oh, yeah. Joe would be great.
Yeah.
If Joe and I did one of these, it would be 9 days long.
Okay.
It would.
You want to know the standard time for a podcast? 50-some minutes to an hour to 2.5 hours.
But our people are probably not going to invest that amount of time. Hey,
it's a radio show. It's literally a radio show that you can put on while you're, cleaning, washing dishes, driving somewhere.
Well, that was just like our beloved Yates, and it's like when we went to the new style. And we were doing like 10, 15 minutes at that point, and he bailed on us because he said he didn't have that much time to invest. And I'm like, okay, other people's, I guarantee you he watches other videos that are that
longer than that.
So it was sort of heartbreaking, but that was also his decision. I respected that. I honored that. And I miss him dearly, still love him.
I wonder if he still watches. Like
Probably not.
Once in a while, Pete pokes on.
I don't know. But anyhow, it is what it is. And for today's cup of coffee, that was a hell of an intro, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah. Most of the intros are like,
This is a hell of a topic. And basically what we're going to be discussing is Eisenhower's less famous warning, which was about government-controlled science.
Government-controlled science?
Yeah.
Well, we all knew that's a thing.
Yes, but this is, like I said, he had actually warned about that. And this article is by Hank Campbell and was written December the 26th, 2017. Now, that's important that it was written in 2017. And this comes from the website American Council on Science and Health.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. And of course, the link will be in the description box. And so I'm just going to read this verbatim because there's no way that I would dare add to or detract from. Mm-hmm. Because Mr. Campbell, he had it down pat. And he says, a few times a year, we, meaning the American Council of Science and Health, have a meeting of the trustees on the American Council of Science and Health to discuss issues like finances, to discuss nominees for our board of scientific advisors, and our general direction. Among the trustees is Fred Smith, the founder of Competitive Enterprise Institute, the CEI, which promotes the benefits of free markets. I certainly agree with them on that. At our November meeting, Fred asked for a spot on the agenda to talk about how we can better talk about science policy without getting into politics. That is obviously tricky. Science is both corporate and political when it comes to basic research. The private sector and government fund about half each. So if you defend science, you are implicitly defining corporations and engaging in politics. It wasn't always that way. Ernest Lawrence, whose name is now on both Lawrence Berkeley National Lab and Lawrence Livermore National Lab, ushered in the era of academic big science. He found that if you did what government wanted, they would throw money at you, and then you could use some of that money to do what you wanted. It really caught on after the Manhattan Project, which was the ultimate use of government guiding academic research to create applied science. People whose entire labs were funded with less than $20,000 per year saw Lawrence getting hundreds of thousands and then millions from Uncle Sam, and the race was on. Government was firmly in the science business, and academics wanted to be in business with politicians. Not everyone was pleased by that. Most famous of the concern about this new control of basic research by the government was President Dwight David Eisenhower, Ike. Ike was someone so concerned about keeping politics out of strategic resources, he refused to vote while he was a military officer. To him, it was a conflict of interest because he was paid by the government. His concern only grew while he was president during the bulk of the 1950s, and the government took more and more control of science funding. As politicians funded more of it, he believed academia was going to self-select for those who also believed in big government, and it would no longer be nonpartisan. And corporations were going to control academic science by controlling politicians. Academics who play the game were going to get more funding and head up grant committees and panels. The concern about growing in military-industrial complex, that's the one most people know about. From Ike's 1961 farewell address, most alarming because he was a career military man who won World War II in Europe before he became president, partly thanks to the military-industrial complex, became part of the cultural lexicon. But less well known is his second warning about manipulation of academia by political interest, which Fred discussed in 2011 and passed around at our meeting. President Eisenhower surrounded himself with brilliant academics. He knew that science ended World War II without costing another million American lives. But by 1961, he also knew, quote, "We must also be alert to the equal and opposite danger that public policy could itself become the captive of a scientific technological elite," end quote. He worried about that government control over funding would change the nature of the, quote, free university, historically the fountainhead of free ideas and scientific discovery, end quote. And it has. If you want to find happiness in academia, find a humanities professor at a small college. If you want to find pressure, go to a biology lab at Johns Hopkins, which needs $300 million a year from the NIH if it's going to put up new buildings and recruit key names who can then raise more money from NIH. Ike was right about culture as well. A decade after his speech, academia was still politically balanced and conservatives had the most trust in academic science. But by the 1980s, they had begun to self-select for people who liked government funding. They even began to suggest that corporate science, the companies who put men on the moon and developed the vaccines and antibiotics and the GMO insulin that have saved hundreds of millions of lives, meant less independence. Academia meant freedom, and then it became that to be an academic, you had to be a liberal because liberals are just smarter. That lurch into partisan politics has had repercussions. It's reality that when people know you are partisan, they trust your objectivity less, even if you are on their side. Today, only liberals retain historical high levels of trust in the impartial nature of academic science. Conservatives, libertarians, and progressives do not. And even so, the people on the political side of academics don't trust them on food, energy, medicine, and chemicals any more than they trust corporate scientists or the government. As a result of seeing science subtly manipulated by government and trust among the public declining, that tide is turning again. A new generation of science academics who are starting on their third postdoc position and questioning the old guard's claims that corporate funding is wrong and only government is right are critical of the claim that you can't be a scientist unless you are a liberal and that corporate funding is bad. They realize that taxes are finite and that billions of dollars in federal government marketing about STEM careers in academia have led to a glut in PhD supply. There are academic jobs for just 16% of graduating scientists. They have become pawns for scientific technological elites with little chance of getting a seat at the table, just as President Eisenhower warned. Given that milieu, how can we discuss policy without getting into partisan politics? It isn't easy. Virtually 100% of health and 2/3 of science policy are dictated by politicians, and it shows. For example, Syngenta makes a herbicide known as atrazine, and when the Obama administration came into office, they convened 2 separate assessments on it to see if it was an endocrine disruptor in frogs. That is not based on science concern. The EPA during the Bush administration had already checked that claim in 2002 and debunked it. Yet EPA was again forced to revisit the same product twice in just President Obama's first term, which certainly smacked of politicization of science. Yeah, really.
Political.
In early 2016,
Political.
our CDC began promoting a condition termed pre-diabetes, which other countries claim is ridiculous.
Diabetes.
Especially at the
Diabetes.
arbitrary blood sugar level that our government chose. Arbitrary. Think of that.
Yeah, I agree with that, he-who.
The CDC also declared that nicotine replacement won't stop smoking unless it's in a patch or gum sold by pharmaceutical giants, and that the opioid epidemic was caused by the medical community and pain patients rather than recreational users.
Yeah.
EPA declared that small micron particulate matter was causing acute deaths even though there were none, not even during the entire history of EPA. U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service told a landowner in Louisiana to tear down their forest and rebuild a new one for a frog they declared endangered in Mississippi. We have to talk about those bad policy decisions if we are going to honor our mandate to be trusted guides for the American public on complex science and health issues. Government-controlled science may be here to stay, but that doesn't have to mean we have to accept rule by the scientific technological elite that thrives on social authoritarianism. Standing in its way are 300 members of the American Council on Science and Health Board of Scientific Advisors, and a scientist or doctor who wants to put politics first is not participating in our work exposing merchants of doubt who manufacture fears about trace chemicals, food, energy, and medicine. So you can trust them. And going into our 40th year of separating health scares from health threats, you can be certain we'll continue to earn your trust as well.
Bullshit.
That was incredible. Like I said, that was in 2017.
Yeah.
And it was interesting. It sounded like he was speaking out both sides of his mouth. Because, yes, very much we understand that Ike's prophecy has come to pass. Mm-hmm. And if you start any kind of research with, it's supposed to be questioning and being surprised at the results. If you go into it knowing what you think your conclusion is going to be, it's already biased. So it's pointless. But not when you've got people throwing millions of dollars. And that those voices that are conservative, that are libertarian, that don't even do the politics thing, are being silenced.
Yeah.
And that's in all parts of academia. And we have seen what has happened. And right now, we're not going to take a stance. I mean, if somebody wants to do whatever, let them do whatever. Don't make me do whatever. Don't force your whatever, your hypotheses on me and my life.
Mm-hmm. The government should just stay out of people's lives in general.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what's so hard to understand about that.
Because it's all about money. That's what it has boiled down to. The military-industrial complex, they played both ends against the middle. World War II, they've done it since then. We don't know that they weren't doing it before then.
They were doing it way before then.
And then we've got into, as far as science, and even if it's relaxing the regulations on creation of chimeras, we have covered that in the past. I mean, we're talking mad scientist bullshit.
Yeah.
And we did 2 videos that discussed the horrific experiments that these people have done in the past.
Mm-hmm.
And
Absolutely
then we have seen what has come to pass and is coming to pass. We haven't even seen the full ramifications of what's been done the past couple of years.
But everything is coming to the light now.
Oh, yeah.
And a lot of people are waking up.
Oh, yeah. And, there's a lot of people that are just...
But is it too late?
Right. We don't know. We don't know. And then they're sitting there going, as far as trusting them, oh, hell no. I think it was Ronald Reagan who said that some of the scariest words in the human language was, I'm from the government and I'm here to help.
Yeah.
Most people just want to be...
left alone.
Absolutely, to live their lives.
Yeah.
They want to be able to go, and if they are sick, to get a medication, and that they are just taking everything, even as far as the
They're taking our privacy.
herbal remedies, different things like that. It's almost like they don't want people to heal themselves, to have the choice of ways to heal themselves.
No, because guess what? Healthy people does not mean money.
Absolutely. There was a product, I think it was called NAC. I may be incorrect on that that some people had used for years. It was an herbal something. They had used it for COPD. I think some people had used it for asthma and all that stuff. And within the past year, 2 years, whatever it was, they were taking that off of the shelves. They were taking it to where you couldn't even order it online because that people were using it and it was beneficial. That's just like a lot of other things that people were using and that were beneficial. And we've been fed this bullshit. Oh, well, this person is using that to make drugs. They're using this. So now you have to show your driver's license. You have to jump through all these hoops or you can't have this. The government has to trace how many times that you can buy this during a month or a year or whatever. Mm-hmm. That ain't freedom, folks.
No, that is absolutely not freedom. And I don't see how people don't see that.
I don't either. Because now let me tell you something. I'm almost 57 years old. The time that I needed a parent has long passed. I can make my own choices, my own decisions, whether it's smoking a cigarette, whether it's drinking rum and coffee, whatever. Mm-hmm. And I don't care how much oversight, Big Brother or whoever has, people are still going to die at some point.
Absolutely.
But
there are 2 things that are sure of this world. People get born, people die.
Yeah. Well, they used to say death and taxes, but, because the government always going to get their pound of flesh one way or the other. It's cradle to grave corruption and slavery. Mm-hmm. So.
But people don't know any different because that's all they've known.
Well, and that's one of the things. If someone is not aware of their rights, it's very easy to take away from someone something they never knew that they had to begin with.
That's why they don't teach it in schools anymore.
Right. And that horrifies me for you all.
There's a lot of stuff that they don't teach in schools anymore that they absolutely should.
Right. Well, I tried to teach you all because I was taught.
Yeah.
And those of us, Gen Xers, I don't know, we were the forgotten people, and maybe we're the ones that's flying under the radar. I don't know.
Nobody talks about y'all.
No. But it's a matter of us talking. We talk amongst ourselves. We try to teach our children. We try to teach other people's children. And it's like, it's just an incredible amount of time. Eisenhower was prophetic on all this stuff. Mm-hmm. And yet he took part in it. I don't understand that. Maybe he didn't realize what was coming out of, maybe he didn't realize what he was prophesying.
That was probably it.
Because now God will speak through people even when they don't have a clue what they're saying.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
So, yeah, this was a bitter cup of coffee this morning. Sorry. But it needed to be done that we have had people try to warn us and for us to pray that our ears and our eyes and our minds and our hearts will be open to receiving the word. It can come in different places. It's not just sitting on a pew. God can speak through a cornflake box if he wants to. It's true. He's
the
not.
Toast. The burnt toast.
Oh, that would be all right. So, this one was paranormal because we are in a spiritual battle right now. And I'm wondering if this is not the boss battle. I really do. So, let's pray one for another.
Mm-hmm.
If you've had paranormal, supernatural encounters, if you've had events with aliens, UFOs, cryptids, words of knowledge, prophecy, if you've got local, regional, family myths, legends. Yeah, I think kids, it freaks him out. And God love him. It's like no 23-year-old should have to be dealing with the shit that we're dealing with right now in our world. So prayers for this kid and all the other ones. And you can email us at cupofcoffeewithscream@gmail.com. And if you need prayer, give me an email and we'll definitely pray with you.
And if you liked this video, don't forget to like, share, comment, and most of all, subscribe and click that little notification button for daily notifications of our daily uploads.
Yeah. And if you would like to be a stand-in for kid.
Oh! I don't know.
And these are hard on him. They really are. The times that we're living in, that's hard on him. So he does need some prayers, if you would, please. Know that you all are loved. Thank you for taking some time, sharing a cup of coffee, sharing a prayer, sharing a pondering.
Give me a wig. A good wig. Give me that good lace front.
And we'll see you on the next cup. Bye.
Oh.